Hi, Lala. How are you?
Hi, so good to see you, to be back. Thank you for having me. I'm doing
Thank,
great.
thank you for being here. So, Lala and I were just reminiscing. It was at Premiere Orlando. Actually, I didn't get a date of that episode. It was episode 91 that you and I did, and it was June 2019. So, right before COVID, not right before, but 6 or 7 months before COVID, that you and I did our first episode at Premiere Orlando. And I remember we were in person, and which is always better, but you know, it's it's hard to always get that. You're in Florida, I'm in LA.
I actually remember something funny about that first interview that I did with you. Um, I remember you asked me the meaning behind my logo, which is the dandelion, and I kept talking about dandelions.
Hmm.
And
Yep,
I
I remember
remember
that.
you trying to figure out what I'm trying to say. And then you were like, "Are you trying to say dandelions?" And I was like, "Wait, that's how you pronounce it? It's actually dandelions, not dandelions? Are you telling me that I've been interviewed for the past 6 years of my career and nobody ever bothered to tell me that that's not the right pronunciation for it?" And that
That
was
is
actually the first time I found out that it's not dandelions, it's dandelions.
so literally no one else knew what the hell you were talking about in all of those
The
interviews
They just went with
until
it.
and yeah, they just let you go. See, I mean, what does that tell you? You could say all sorts of stuff and nobody's going to call you on it. You can make
That's not
stuff up
good.
all day long.
That's not good.
That's not
Well,
good at all.
eventually I came up with a book with my memoir that is called Dandelions. So it's good that you actually told me that's not the right pronunciation because I've been interviewed about it since, and eventually I know how to talk about it in the right way.
That's really funny. So, what about your husband? Your husband never said it, or maybe he never heard you say
Well, he's
dandelion.
Romanian. He's Romanian as well.
Oh,
So
he is. Okay.
we're
Okay.
yeah, we're in the same pot.
So you you both were saying dandelion.
Probably, yes.
Oh my God, that's funny. All right. Well, I think a lot of our listeners know you already, but for those who don't, you're a Fort Lauderdale, Florida hairdresser who focuses on bridal hair. And you're the founder of Lala's Tools, which I think is new since you and I spoke,
Yes, it is.
4 years ago now, 5 years ago now. And Lala's Bridal Academy. And by the way, that Lala's Tools, that's an Instagram handle,
Yes.
at Lala's Tools, and then at Lala's Bridal Academy, which is where you teach bridal work. And I think this is new as well. Maybe new in just the way you present it, but you're a life coach.
Yes.
And now I vaguely remember, correct me if I'm wrong, that you were doing life coachy kind of things when we spoke last, or is that entirely new?
I was mentoring most of my students on the side for free, I would say, because the core of my business and everything that I have been doing in my career was actually my love for people and making a difference in their lives. So I could say that I've been mentoring and coaching people since the beginning of my career. I just didn't make a living through it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just loved making a difference and helping people to achieve their dreams. And that was actually the thing that I loved the most about my career, not doing hair.
Hair was a vehicle maybe that allowed you to have those
Yeah,
kinds of conversations with the people.
I would say so. Yeah, it was a platform that I built that allowed me to actually do in the background what I love the most, helping people.
Yeah. Well, I remember that coming out in our episode 91, which I strongly advise all of the listeners to go back and check it out, primarily to hear Lala's story, her incredible story of growing up in communist Romania or post-communist Romania. But what was it, communist when you were there?
Yes, I grew up
Okay.
under communism, yes.
Yeah,
And
Romania. And the stories were just spectacular. I actually went back about 20 minutes ago and I listened to the first 10 minutes of that episode. And I didn't remember all the little stories that you had. I remember just the general topic that we were talking about. But we talked about you growing up in communist Romania and then reaching for a better life in the United States. And it's an extremely inspirational story. You said about 5 minutes ago that you wrote a book.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
The reason I wrote that book is because throughout my career, I made a rule to share a little bit of my story when I was on the big stages. Most of my education took place on the big stages around the United States and the hair shows. And because I managed to achieve all my dreams, I wanted to make sure that each person in that audience understands and learns about how it's in our power to achieve those dreams if we don't take no for an answer, and if we look for the solutions, not the excuses for each of our problems, you know. And to my surprise, at the end of each of my classes and show performances, people spoke to me more about how my story inspired them to go and achieve those dreams than actually what I taught on stage. And I would hear this comment and this message over and over again for the past 10 years of my career. You should write a book. You should write a book. If you would write a book, I would buy it tomorrow. So eventually I took that leap of faith last year in April, and I took a few weeks off, left the house, went up in the mountains in a secluded area, and I wrote my book in 3 weeks, and then it took me another few months to put it all together. And eventually I launched my memoir last year in December on my birthday.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
thank you. So all that story about communists, growing up under communists, and what formed me into the woman that I am today, my business growth, my career growth, and everything, it's in that book for those who are interested to learn more about it and get inspired to go and chase those dreams. So yeah,
Wow.
back in 2019 when we spoke, this was not even in the project, not even a project or a plan.
And what is the book called?
The book is called Dandelions.
It's
Not
called Dandelions.
not Dandelion. No, I can't even pronounce it that way anymore. It's called Dandelions, and for those who are interested, the meaning. I don't know if you want me to talk about the meaning
Please.
behind that,
Yes.
because that's actually my business logo as well. And I have a lot of
Mhm.
people asking me why I called it Dandelions and why my logo has that dandelion on it. And the meaning behind this is me being in communist Romania when I was little, living a very hard life with everything being rationed, with sitting in lines from 2, 3 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock until grocery stores would open for us to get our ration of food, which was 2 eggs and half of a bread per person every 2 days. Not having power, not having hot water, doing my homework at candlelight, not having my parents by my side because they were working 3 shifts. So I grew up pretty much by myself since I was 5 years old. Me being put in weekly institutions since I was 1.5, and not seeing my parents more than 1 day a week. They would drop me there on Monday and pick me up on Saturday afternoon. So all this, you know, eventually, and having closed borders, having only one TV station that will broadcast only, you know, communist propaganda, and not having any knowledge about what was happening outside of our country. And I remember when I was about 5 or 6 years old, three of my uncles managed to cross the border illegally and immigrate in the United States. And that's when we started to receive these letters and pictures from United States. And for me, getting to see a glimpse of a world that I never knew anything about it. And I remember as a child going through that hardship, looking at those pictures every day and kind of like going to sleep, embracing those pictures and dreaming a life like that one day. And we had in front of our block, I lived in a very bad neighborhood, a very dangerous neighborhood. And it was a struggle to go to school, come back to school, and literally survive on the streets on my own. And we had a field in front of our block. And I remember every spring dandelions will bloom into that field. And in our culture, we have this belief that if you blow into dandelions until you run out of breath, eventually all of your wishes will come true. And I remember like looking at those pictures and then run outside and lay down in that field of dandelions and blow into them and tell myself one day I will make it to America and I will be rich and famous. I'm still working on that rich and famous part. I made it to the States. And, a lot of my dreams eventually became reality. I managed to turn them into reality as far as my career goes and achieving all the goals and the plans that I had as far as my career goes and my personal life as well. So that's where the dandelion comes as far as my logo and my memoir as well.
I love it. And so, do you have pictures or anything in your memoirs? I'm curious. I'm curious what the pictures were that you liked so much, that were so inspirational, that your uncles sent back to you.
I don't have any pictures in my memoir. I have, like, I'm describing what I've seen.
Mm.
It was palm trees. It was fruits, exotic fruits that I have never saw before, and I was dreaming to taste, and
Mm.
streets that I was like dreaming to walk on, and beautiful weather. It was always sunny in those pictures, and
Was it
convertible
Florida?
cars. It was California.
Okay.
And it was convertible cars that I dreamed of driving one day. And all this, just the child in me just dreamed of a different life, a totally different life than what I was living on a daily basis.
Sure. And then eventually, how were you able to leave?
Eventually, I was able to leave because in '89 we had a revolution. The government went down. They killed the president, and we became a free country. So I did not have to. I remember telling my mom every day, when I will be 18, I will cross the border illegally, and I will run to America. And eventually, I didn't have to. America has a lottery visa for all European states, and there are like few thousands for each country. And I remember still dreaming about making it here and talking to my husband about it, and he was totally against it. He did not want it to come here. So I did apply on his name and my name without him knowing because there were two chances. And then 1 year later, we just got an envelope in the mail saying that he won the lottery visa, and he was just baffled. He was like, I never applied for it. I don't know what this is. So I convinced him to come here just for 5 years until we take our citizenship and offer another chance to our daughter if she ever wants to build a future in a different country. And, after 5 years lived here, you kind of like feel uprooted and you don't feel home there. You don't feel home here either. And you're just going with the flow, hoping that one day you will feel home here, or maybe you will return back there. And it's been 19 years since. And now I can tell that the United States is my home. I don't feel like going back.
Yeah. Have you been back?
Yes, I've been visiting, but not very often. It's easier and it's cheaper to have our parents come here than for the whole family to actually fly there.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so talk about your life coaching. How much time are you splitting? Well, here I am asking two questions at the same time. On your daily basis, how much time are you spending doing bridal work with hair, and how much time are you spending life coaching?
Well, I am not teaching bridal hair anymore.
Oh,
I
okay.
I've been through rough times. In 2021, my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer.
Oh, so sorry.
So he had to go through a major surgery by the end of 2021. They removed one of his kidney and then he had to do chemo. So that's when I decided to not travel anymore. Most of my income was coming from traveling from salon to salon and through those hair shows and teaching. Because I was not working behind the chair since 2016, I completely switched to education because I had such a high demand on that. So that's when I realized that I'm not going to be able to travel anymore because I have to be home and be by my husband's side. And that's when that idea and that long dream of mine to open an academy came to life, to reality. And I told my husband that I'm going to open an academy so I can be able to teach from home and be by his side if it's needed. And in 2022, he started chemo by the beginning of the year. And then by February, I actually opened Lala's Bridal Academy in Fort Lauderdale. I've been blessed with students from day one until the moment I closed, which was last year. And going through those hard times because of my husband's condition, and then having my daughter go into college and working myself out, trying to keep up with all the expenses, that put a heavy toll on my mental and my physical health. And by the end of the year, I started to feel sick by the end of 2022. And beginning of 2023, my hands gave up on me. So I went through intensive testing
I'm
and
sorry, your what gave up on you?
my hands,
Your hands.
my hands.
Wow.
They started getting swollen and red and purplish, and not being able to like hold anything in my hands, not even a cup of coffee or like a fork or anything. I was in terrible pain. I did not know what's going on. So I went through intensive testing for about 3 weeks. And then end of February of 2023, I was diagnosed with arthritis and Raynaud. I had severe inflammation in my whole body. I've been told it's a condition of autoimmune system condition, that there is no treatment for it and they don't know what causes it, but it's mostly triggered by stress. So that's when I decided to take that break for me to figure out what I'm going to do next. And that's when I took off and I went and I wrote my book, and I made all this happen. And eventually I had to take the hard decision to close down my academy because I was canceling class after class after class. I never knew what I wake up to. Like some days my hands were okay. Some days I would wake up and I would not be able to use it. And most of my students were outside of state. They were traveling even outside of the country to me. So I ended up not only not making money, but actually having to return money back for, travel fees and all that. And that just put even more stress on me. And I
Yeah.
decided that it's time for me to just stop and put my life in pause and take care of my health mentally and physically, and decide what I'm going to do next. And that trip, when I went actually in the mountains to write my memoir, actually brought me a lot of clarity and made me realize that what I loved the most about the hair industry was not really the styling. It was the fact that I was able to make a difference in people's lives, career wise and life wise, and changing the way they are thinking and they're behaving, and the way they're taking action towards their dreams. And that's when I decided to switch online with everything as far as my academy goes. I still create hair in my own time, when my hands allows it. But I am not under that stress that I have to, someone is paying me to do it. If my hands are not working, I can call my models and say, hey, today is not a good day for this. And I have a very successful academy online with pre-recorded tutorials that I have built in the past 2.5 years. It's going really well. Eventually, I launched my own preparation tool specifically designed for bridal hair in 2020 during the pandemic, which was a great, great step for me because look what came. If I would have had no source of income, all of my income was coming from teaching. So doing all these, like working towards all these dreams of mine that I had, actually, this was the plan B that I never knew that I needed. And it was mostly pushed by the pandemic because that's when I stood home for 1 year, not being able to make a penny. And that's when I worked on launching my tool and launching my online academy. I'm like, what if this is happening again? And I'm so happy that I did because we think that we have it all and we never know what tomorrow holds.
Right.
So at this point, I am actually not teaching bridal hair anymore in person. I'm only doing it through my online education, through my bridal academy. I am selling my tool. I am selling my book. I am working on more books coming, styling books, step-by-step books.
Okay.
And actually have not launched my life coaching yet. I am
Oh,
launching it in January, but I've been doing it on the side unofficially. Like I said,
okay.
I've been doing it unofficially for since I know myself being in this hair industry. And I have a lot of actually students that have not been in my program because I didn't have an official program, but which I supported throughout the years and changed their life and their career completely. I don't see myself teaching business. I know that it will be part of my coaching because I have so much knowledge, to share when it comes to the bridal industry and the hair industry in general. I mean, I built a brand on my own. I've been becoming an educator on my own. I made it on the big stages on my own. I represented big brands out there. I opened an academy. I came up with my own line of hot tools. I opened an online academy. I don't know if it's anything that could possibly be done in this industry that I haven't done. So I know that will be part of my coaching because right now my waiting list is mostly hairstylists that want me to life coach them, and I know probably a big part of that will be business coaching, and they would want me to guide them where
Mm-hmm.
they want to get. But my love is actually life coaching, like making a change in not only career wise but life wise, because career is just a small part of our lives.
Absolutely. And so you've been doing the life coaching um, first through the interactions you're having with hairstylists that were coming to your event at a show or coming to your education, and next thing you know, you're giving life coaching advice. And by the way, it's even more than that because even in our first interview, you started with your story. You weren't talking. You didn't start with technical advice on how to do updos. You started with your life story. And so it was pretty clear to me from the beginning that there was much more that you were giving than technical hair advice or even hair industry advice, hair career advice. So with all the conversations that you've had thus far, and as you formalize your life coaching, and you're going to have much more, tell us what type of person, kind of the poster child of someone who could benefit from life coaching.
It will be someone who wants to change their life completely. And I say this because this is how my life went and this is how my mentality was. Like, I remember myself being in the corporate world back in 2014 and 15 and being completely miserable, being very good at what I was doing because that's who I am. Whatever I get involved into, I put my 100% and I will ace it no matter what, even if I hate it. But I remember myself sitting in that position for almost 2 years and being miserable to the point where I was so sick and tired of living the life that was not the life of my dreams that I decided to literally leave everything behind overnight. And I'm not talking just about my job and my career, but literally living behind friends and family and people that did not agree with my choices because that was the only way for me to start fresh and literally change my life.
So,
And
which choices did friends and family not agree with?
well, in our culture, for example, the Romanian culture, the woman, and this is typical to Latin culture. The women cannot succeed unless they are supported by a male figure, or if they sleep their way up.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I tried to do this, nobody could believe or understand that I was actually being able to become successful in just less than a year and be able to make it on the big stages and make a name for myself in the hair industry. Nobody believed that, and I forgot your question.
It was which decisions that your family and friends did
Yes.
not agree with.
And another one was the fact that I did not accept that I can have a career working from home and being a good
Oh,
mother that stays home, that doesn't travel, that doesn't go places, that doesn't meet new people. In our culture, you can be successful, but you need to. The successful is you being to a 9 to 5 office hours, maybe, and not being exposed, not making it in, not getting out of your comfort zone.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of the people in my life could not agree with that. And I've been told that I am not a good mother because I am not home on weekends, because I missed her graduation on 8th grade, because I was not there once in her life for her birthday. And
Yeah.
I did make sacrifices to make it where I'm at today. I'm not going to lie about it. And I'm not going to lie that it was not hard. And I'm not going to lie that I did not feel guilty about it. But one thing that I tell every woman and every student in my coaching is that we cannot preach our kids to go and chase their dreams, and not only our kids, like everyone around us in general. We cannot preach to them to go and chase those dreams when we sit home and we give up on ours. And I remember one episode in particular about my daughter and me feeling very guilty, although I achieved everything in my career that I dreamed of. I still had that deep guilt inside me because of the people around me who told me that I did not took the right choices and I was not a good mother. And I remember in 2019, going to the American Influencers Awards. I was nominated as the hairstylist of the year. And American Influencers Awards is a different kind of award. It's all the beauty industry united, the nail artist and the makeup artist and the hairstylist. And my daughter asking me if she could come with me to LA. And I said, why do you want to be there? And she said, I have so many people in the makeup industry that I look up to. And if I would just be in the same room with them, that would just make my day and my year. So I decided to take my daughter with me to LA just for her to meet her idols in the makeup industry. And I remember sitting on the same red carpet with Kim Kardashian and Tyra
Mm.
Banks, and my daughter waving at me and like doing this, and she was like, she could not believe that her mom was on the same red carpet with all these celebrities, and then the makeup artists that she was looking up were like lining up there. And I got the opportunity to present an award on stage. And I went behind the stage and I asked all these people. She named them. She wrote it down for me because I was not familiar with those names in the beauty industry. So I went and I talked to them. I introduced myself and I asked them if after, when we have the VIP party, if they would be willing to take a picture with my daughter. And they all were like for it. Everyone was super nice and supportive about it. And the awards were over, and we went to that party. And I remember we were kind of like grouped. The hair industry was one side, the nail artists were on one side, the makeup artists on one side, and I saw them all together. And that was my opportunity to go there with my daughter for her to get the pictures that she wanted. And I'm going there, and before I got actually a chance to introduce her, I only got a chance to say, "Hi guys, this is my daughter that I told you about. Her name is," and before I got a chance to say her name is, she went on each one of them and shook their hand. And she said, "Hi, I am Lala Sabdi's daughter. Hi, I am Lala Sabdi's daughter.
Wow.
Hi, I am Lala Sabdi's daughter." She did not even care to tell them their name. She just introduced
Her
herself
name.
as my daughter. And I remember that I stepped out of that circle bawling and crying my heart out and not believing that my daughter is introducing herself as Lala Sabdi's daughter. And that day, I understood that my daughter does not remember that she grew up in the places I worked. I even asked her after, and I said, "What do you remember about those hard times when mama was working 3 jobs and raised you in the places I worked, or the times that I was not home because I was gone trying to chase a dream?" And my daughter did not remember that she sat in the corner of my salon eating a bag of chips instead of a hot meal. She remembered that I let her to play with my customers' hair, and how I let her to rinse their hair with me, and how all she remembers is like quality time with me, because I tried to make the best out of the time we had together.
Hmm.
So although it was hard, this is what I'm trying to send out to all the people that come to me for guidance, is that you can have it both. And that we teach our kids and everyone around us by example of what we're doing, not what we're preaching. And I can say that I changed my life personally and career wise from here to here in a matter of only a few years. And because I was determined to, I was just sick and tired to live a life that did not align with my dreams. I imagine what I want and I just planned and I went for it. And this is what most of my students that are working with me right now, not officially, are going through, like complete transformation of their lives, not just career wise, but life wise.
And so what is it about maybe a typical, I'll call them a pupil or a student, a typical student's behavior or habits that's holding them back?
It's mostly mindset up, I would say. Like we have all these backgrounds where we've been told that we cannot do it, or we had so many failures that we started to believe that we cannot do it, that we do not have the resources, that we do not have the support. And that's when my life and my journey comes in. And I explain to them, I did not have the support. I did not have any money. I did not have any connections. So all these excuses are eventually in our work are being put on the side, and they're like being eliminated, and they are being, replaced with the belief that I can actually do it. I have the resources to make it happen, even if I don't have anyone's support, the connections, or the money, because it's not about that. It's about you finding the solutions of each of those problems that come in your path. And there is. I promise that there is a solution for each of those problems. And it has nothing to do with money, nor connections, nor support. If you set your mind to something, you can make it happen with no one's support. And that's my story. And that's what weighs so much into my coaching when I have someone coming to me. Because I am the living proof that I was able to make it happen without any of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just what I put my mind to it. And no matter what came into my path, eventually I made it work for me.
Mm-hmm. I like how you said it's almost replacing a negative voice, a negative mindset with the positive one.
Exactly.
And I wonder how it's easy to say it. I wonder how long does it take typically for someone to practice doing that on a day-to-day basis, to the extent that they're actually going to start changing things in their lives?
I had students that came to me and they made it happen in a matter of 3 to 6 months. And I had students that were still there 12 months later looking for excuses and telling me why it didn't work for them. So
what do you say to that cohort?
I am very straightforward, and at the point where the 3 to 6 months are passing by and nothing changed, I just tell them that it's time for us to split and go apart because it's not working. I always tell them 90% of the work is you. The 10% is my guidance and my support and me helping you to believe that you're able and capable to change all this and change your life into the life you dream about and making it happen. But most of the work, it's on their side. It's not mine. And a lot of people want to make it happen, but it's usually the people that make it happen are the people that are at the very bottom. That they are so sick and tired, and they are so sick physically and mentally, and so sick of living that life and not being able to escape out of it and make any changes. Those are actually the ones that succeed the most and the faster. The ones who are still in their comfort zone and they still have it warm, those are usually the ones that takes a longer time or it doesn't happen at all.
Because it's not bad enough yet.
Exactly. It's not bad enough yet.
There needs to be that strong of an incentive for them to start thinking differently.
It's that, and also it helps to see someone's journey that's similar to yours, that they were at the rock bottom and they were able to completely change their life. That's why I say I think a lot of part of my coaching started when in the beginning of my career when I started to share my story. Like people related to that. She's an immigrant. She did not know the language. She did not have any money. She did not have any support. And still she managed to do all this. And
Hmm.
this is what helps me a lot when I coach the people coming my way. My story is actually what helps me the most. Help people go through it, and my life experience as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
But it's the proof and the relate the fact that they relate to that. Okay, she was there. I am there. Okay, she went there. I can get there. Okay,
Hmm.
from here she got there. Okay, I am here. I can get to the next step, and I can take the next step and the next step and the next step to that.
I'm curious how much conversation you need to have with someone before you can really start advising them in a customized way. Like, give me an example of the first conversations that you have with a new client, patient, pupil. What do you call a life coaching subject? I don't know.
I call them usually I really don't call them students. I just talk
Okay.
to them like they're my friends.
Yeah.
And I just call them by name. But I usually have people reaching out to me by inboxing me in my Instagram. This is what happened from the beginning of my career. And they're like, "Hey, Lala, I know you don't know me. Maybe you won't even see this message. I probably you're so busy that you won't respond, but I'm gonna leave it here." And then they just ask for advice in different aspects of their career. It's mostly career wise. It's not personal, you know.
Okay.
And then from there, I get back to them and I respond and I guide them. And then they come back for more because it worked. And then they come back for more and they're like, "Are would you be open to actually guide me to mentor me?" And that's when we get into a 90 minutes conversation where we
19,
go 90
90.
minutes. And we go over everything from I want to know everything about them, where they were born, where is their background, what kind of family they grew up, what kind of religion, what kind of mentality, because that has a great I would say that set the tone on what we believe when we grow up. And you know, for me, like I said, my culture had a lot of negative points when it came to me succeeding and trying to succeed because I was always thinking, what would the people say? What if the people say that? What if the people would do that? And I would say that the fact that I did not succeed, I would have probably being able to live the life of my dreams any stage of my life. But because of that culture and the background that I was coming from, I needed time for me to mature to get to the point where I didn't give a shit about that anymore, you know,
Right.
and be like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm just going to live the life of my dreams. And we're going over everything from the moment they were born until the present day. And that's pretty much when I form an idea. Go
And
ahead.
are you writing down
Yes.
all the details? Because I'm sure it's hard to absorb in an hour and a half conversation, hard to absorb 100% of the information. So it seems like it would help to write it down. So you're writing it down?
Yes, I just let them tell their story. I usually do not interrupt. I just tell them, I want to know everything about you from the day you were born until today. And they're just telling me their story. I'm trying to tell them, usually, if you could keep it in 30 minutes, that would be great. I just want to get the big idea about your life, where you were born, your background, and all that. And then we go into the struggles. Okay, so why did you come to me? Why did you feel like I could help you? And that's when I get an idea what the problem is, you know. And based on what I know about their background and based on what I know about their present situation, and then we talk about struggles and then the steps that they want to take towards that change and what keeps them from going there, like making that change, is kind of like I get an idea if that's someone that I could work with. And the way I have a background in psychology, this is what I did in Romania, you know. So for me, that's very helpful. I could tell if that will be a person that will make a change in their life. Most of the times I'm right. Not all the time. I had people that I misjudged and eventually they made it happen. But most of the time, I would say 99% of the times I'm right. And
And,
that's when
and
I
and what are you
decide.
looking for in order to determine those that can make that transition versus those who are unlikely to?
I have few questions that I put. There are different questions which actually give me the same answer, which tells me how ready they are to actually make that change, you know. But I'm not going to go into that because then I'm spilling the tea for everything that I'm doing behind the scenes. But it's few questions that tell me if they are ready or not to make that change
Okay.
and if they are committed 100% to that. And
Mhm.
based on that call, I decide if that's something that someone that I could work with, that I could help to make a change in their lives, or it's someone that is not ready to make that change. And then
Right.
into once we get into that, I am using an app. Um, they pretty much have me in their pocket every day. They send me messages. I have 72 hours to get back to them. And that allows me to kind of like really go deep into the issue that they brought to me and guide them properly towards that. And then I just sent a voicemail back, and we have another 90 minutes call every month where we go over everything that we decided to achieve that month, you know, all the plans, and kind of like keeping them accountable,
Mhm.
trying to push them, but not really, because it's not my job
Mhm.
to do your job. Is your job to do your job, you know, but just keep them accountable and support them, and just tell them again and remind them every, not every day, but with every call, that it is possible, even if you encountered hardship. And mostly the hardship doesn't, it's coming from the mindset up, but it's mostly coming from the people around us that could not cope with the idea that you're trying to take the big boat while they're still in the small one.
Mhm.
And that's the biggest problem that I have with most of the people that I work with. And it's hard when the family is the ones that are trying to keep you from growing. That's the hardest part to overcome.
Right. Because the trade-off is almost unbearable, right? To uh, turn your back or cut out your friends or parents, your network, right? Your family.
I mean, they love this version of you. They don't know what the new version is going to be. They don't want to deal with the unexpected. The
Right.
the they want to keep what they had so far. Nobody likes change.
Right. Yeah, that's wild stuff. But I see it, in some of the relationships I have that oftentimes, not oftentimes, but sometimes family can be that can work against growth. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, very few people, even if it's our loved ones, very few people are genuinely happy for your growth, you
Hmm.
know, especially when that doesn't include them.
Right.
It's in
Because
our
it makes
human
because
nature.
human nature. Yep. I use the phrase human nature quite a bit. I have kids, 12 and 13, so I'm a daily psychologist to them, and whether they want to hear it or not, um, they tend to not want to hear it. But then, of course, they ask for advice, and I tell them something, and sometimes they walk away as I'm telling them the advice, but it's all I
Wait
can do.
until wait until they get to 19, 20, and then they realize that you're their best friends, and they come back and ask for that advice that they never want to hear. Mine is 20, and now every time she has a problem, she calls me.
Yeah.
I'm on speed dial. Now
Oh,
I'm
that's
I'm
awesome.
I'm the best.
Yeah, I bet. That's awesome. So what keeps you up at night these days?
Uh, Honestly, nothing keeps me up anymore. I made peace with the fact that I left behind everything that I built and worked hard for. I had a hard year last year, letting all this go. And even it took me a few months to realize that I have so much more to offer than just teaching people with my hands, because the amount of knowledge that I have as far as my business as my career goes is it's 90% compared to the 10% that I was teaching through hairstyling. And I realized that I could teach people all the skills in the world, But if they do not know how to run their business and change their life, they will never make money. They will never be happy. They will never be successful. And I realized that I was so caught up and kind of like blocking that mentality that you can only make money with your hands that I never actually thought about how I could do what I actually love, making a difference in people's life using my knowledge and not my hands. And now that I am diving more and more into that, I am not stressed about finances anymore because I realize that I can make money so much more easy and doing what I love the most and what actually kept me in the hair industry for all these years. I am happier than I think I have ever been. And the reason for that, I remember when I used to be in the hair industry and going to these hair shows and classes, the most exciting part of it and the part that I loved the most and the one that I felt the most fulfilled and happy was the after show and the after class when I got that time to sit down and talk to people and give them advice and guide them and connect and hear how much of my story or my advice or my guidance made a change in their life. And from my experience, which is funny, everything that happened in my life so far and all these, I could say that my life changed every 10 years. Hopefully, it's going to change every 5 years. Now I'm almost 48 now, and I'm thinking, okay, now I'm getting into coaching. What am I going to do in 5 years from now? I don't want to be stuck in a 10-year cycle anymore, doing the same thing and being miserable. But I realized that throughout my life, almost every cycle that changed in my life came by force, not by choice. And I was so miserable doing the same thing over and over and over again, being in my comfort zone that I always delayed and postponed doing what I loved the most because I was afraid that it's not going to work. And in a way, I am happy that I got diagnosed with arthritis, and I am happy that I got to the point where I was not able to use my hands anymore. Because if I wasn't, probably I would still teach and be miserable that I'm not doing what I love the most, doing the most.
Right.
So I
It's
can't
just
say that I have anything keeping me up anymore. My husband is healthy.
good.
He's cancer free.
Amazing.
I am managing my health issues with a strict diet. I've learned how to deal with it and keep it under control. I love doing what I'm doing, and I know that I'm going to grow so much more in doing through what I love the most.
I love it.
Like you said, the hair industry was just a platform to get me to what my heart desires and loves the most to do.
Well, that's an awesome story, and it sounds like you're in an amazing place. And for the people in the industry who want your bridal education, is still out there, right? Still online.
Yes, still out there. I have a library of over 150 tutorials. They are pre-recorded with voiceover explaining each step. It's like I would be with them in the room, but I just can't slap their hands when they do something wrong.
Right.
So that's there.
That's great. Well, I'm so happy to hear this story, and I didn't realize that you had had so many transitions, and but I love to hear it, and it all sounds so positive that I'm so happy for you.
I just hope I will be able to make even a bigger difference in people's life through what I'm doing right now, you
Yeah,
know, and
and I'm absolutely sure that you will. I have no doubt about that in my mind. Any last words for the hair community?
it's been a great ride. And I have so many of the people that I'm working with right now are burned out in the hair industry. And I think I can relate to that. And like I was mentioning earlier, usually we feel burned out when we neglect our mental and physical health, when our career and our work becomes our number one priority, and the family comes second, and your own happiness comes second. And what I can say to the hair industry is that I've been there. I know what the burnout looks like and feels like. And Another thing that I can tell them, if tomorrow is not theirs anymore and anything happens, none of that is going to matter. What is
Mm-hmm.
going to matter the most is what they're going to be able to do with themselves if all that is out, if the career, the work behind the chair is gone. I
Mm-hmm.
remember closing down my academy last year in June, and I had a whole wall full of, achievements and awards and publishes, a magazine being published in, and I remember taking all those down and asking myself, I was not in a good place mentally back then when I closed down, and I remember putting all those into boxes and be like, what was all this for? Really, what was all this for if I can lose it all overnight? But that helped me put things in perspective and realize that I wished I spent more time with my loved ones, that I wished I took that vacation, that I wish I listened to my body when it told me that I was too tired, then I should take a break. And it made me realize that there is so much to life than just work. So this is what I tell the people in the industry: listen to your mind, listen to your heart, listen to your body, listen to your loved ones, because if tomorrow is not yours, any of that work, it won't matter. Any of those achievements, any of those awards would not, you won't give a shit about it anymore if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have your health and the life
Yeah.
that you need to enjoy all that. And
Amazing.
if you need help and if you need guidance on how to get out of that uh, mouse wheel, reach out to me. I'll help you out. For me, it
There you
was
go.
by force, not by choice, but I'm so happy it happened. Don't
Right.
let yourself get there where it's by force, not by choice.
Right. Well, very, very inspirational and educational, and fantastic to see you again and hear and to catch up on your story. Your Lala's updos on Instagram, your Lala's tools on Instagram, your Lala's Bridal Academy on Instagram, and your book is called Dandelions. Where do we get your book?
You guys can find it on my website or on Amazon. Here that
Okay.
is.
Oh, it's a beautiful picture of a lady holding a dandelion, and there's a little seed kind of going.
Yes.
Dandelions, a memoir by Laura Chihaia. I love it. Thank you so much. It was great to see you again.
Thank you for having me, Eric, and thank you everyone for listening.